call the meeting to order. Good night, everyone. In accordance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, Section 30-4-80E, South Carolina Code 1987, as amended, all the media in the immediate area have been notified of the date, time, location, and agenda of the meeting. We'll have our prayer by Ms. Gore, followed by the pledge by Mr. Jeffers.
Good evening, everyone. Let us bow our heads and pray. Thank you. Most gracious Father, we come tonight thanking you for being a good God to all of us. As we begin our meeting on tonight, we seek your wisdom and we seek your guidance, God, in helping us make right decisions for our children in this community. Also, Lord, we want to send a special prayer to our fellow board member, Mr. Charles Govan, and asking the Lord to heal him. And we thank you for all who has come on tonight, and we hope that this be a fulfilling meeting for all of us. In Jesus' name I do pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've taken a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any citizens' comments? All right, we'll move on. All right, that moves us on to our awards, recognitions, and honors. I got Mr. Schuler. I guess you are up.
Good evening, everyone. Madam Chair, board members. Dr. Ferguson, I have the privilege and honor of recognizing our top 3 schools that achieved highest attendance on our Everyday Counts youth count for the month of March. I have to share that all of our schools have been working extremely hard. We have a 3% goal that I think we are well on the way of achieving by the end of this school year. The first school that will represent the schools that's under 400 as it relates to enrollment, and that school is Carolina Elementary. Principal is Casey Hughes. All right, our next group is the school that's above 400, less than 700, and they are a repeat winner, and that is North Hartsville Elementary.
Slide down.
Oh, happy birthday. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Thank you.
And for the division of above 700 enrollment, I have to recognize Hartsville Middle School. Dr. James Principal, Peyton Everett, and Reed Truitt.
We have Ryan Jepson and Rahima Warfield also. These are students who have not missed a day of school at all this year so far.
We're going to squeeze in real tight here.
We got Garcia and
All right, right here on 3. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Congratulations. And for our most improved school for this month, for the month of March, is Hartsville High School. Bishop and Ms. Galloway.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Thank you.
to recognize our 2026 South Carolina Junior Scholars. 8 students from Darlington County School District were named 2026 South Carolina Junior Scholars as part of the South Carolina Department of Education program designed to identify and encourage 8th grade students with exceptional academic talents in South Carolina. They are Christopher Gerke from Darlington Middle,
Thank you. Congratulations. 3.
sorry, Chris.
3, 2, 1. Good. Good job.
Liam Torres Garcia from Darlington Middle,
Good job. 2, 1. Good. Good job.
Maria Clara Barbosa, Hartsville Middle School.
Good.
Sayla De Leon from Hartsville Middle School.
Good job.
Storm Smith from Hartsville Middle School.
There you go.
Dave Thomas from Hartsville Middle School.
Good job. Good.
Luke Johnson from Spalding Middle School.
That stuff you figured out.
Congratulations. Good. Good job.
Becky Yang from Spalding Middle School. Congratulations, students. We are very proud of you all for doing so well. Our next will be the 2026 South Carolina Skills USA competition. Is a partnership of students, teachers, and industries working together to ensure America has a skilled workforce. Skilled USA serves middle school, high school, and college post-secondary students preparing for careers in trade, technical, and skilled service occupations. Caden Berry, a Darlington County Institute of Technology student, won first place in the Automotive Refinish Technology Competition at the 2026 South Carolina Skills USA Competition.
Who else? Good.
Did we get one? Did Mom get? Did you get it, Mom? You got your picture. And then
The next student could not be here tonight, Alexandria Kelly. She is a student from Darlington County Institute of Technology, and she has been chosen as the 2026 Harbor Freight Fellow of the Year. The National Harbor Freight Fellow Institute is designed to elevate the respect and resources accorded youth and their teachers who choose to pursue careers in trades. Fellows work alongside mentors in real-work situations to deepen their interest, develop hands-on practice, and broaden professional networks that will support them as they move through their professional lives. Congratulations, and Mr. Smith will stand in for them. Our next awards are for 2 students from the Darlington County School District who were chosen to participate in the South Carolina Band Directors Association All-State Bands. Braden Harrington, a Hartsville High School student, was selected to participate in the 2026 SCBDA All-State Senior Honor Band, and Tommy Cotton, a Darlington Middle School student, was selected to participate in the 2026 SCBDA All-State Junior Honor Band. Congratulations.
Three, two, one. Good.
Congratulations, John. Good job. Good job.
Wrestle.
At this time, I get an opportunity to recognize some outstanding wrestlers within our school district. We had 3 Darlington County School District wrestlers that have earned spots on the 2026 South Carolina Wrestling Coaches Association All-State Wrestling Team. When I call your name, I ask that you come forward with your coach as well as your principal. First up, for Darlington High School, Mr. Malik Moore, come on up. And Coach Camp, I'm sorry. I apologize.
3, 2, 1. Good.
Next up for Hartsville High School, Mr. Noah Lynch.
We'll give him a round of applause.
Also from Hartsville High School, Mr. Lamar Hargraves. In addition to Darlington High's Malik Moore participating and being a part of the All-State Wrestling team, he was also selected as a North-South Wrestling All-Star participant. So we ask Malik Moore to come up again and receive your award.
Three, two, one. Good.
All right, we do want to recognize that we had a state champion in our district in wrestling. Mr. Noah Lynch of Hartsville High School won the state championship for his Class 4 830-pound division. So let's give it up for Mr. Noah Lynch. At this time, we have some recognitions as it relates to basketball. We have several athletes that earned spots on the 2026 South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association All-State Basketball Team. These athletes come from Darlington High School. We ask that Ms. Autumn Joseph please come forward. Head coach, Ms. Shaniqua Bennett.
Three, two, one.
All right. We also have Jerron Ross from Darlington High School. Who made the 4A All-State boys basketball team. Mr. Williams and Coach Brad Knox.
2, 1. Good.
And finally, we have from Hartsville High School, Mr. Kason Dawson. Coach Jason Earl, Principal Corey Lewis.
We'll lay over. All right, right here. 3, 2, 1. Good.
And once again, we have a North-South girls basketball team member that made it from Darlington High School, Ms. Autumn Joseph. If you could come back up and receive your award, congratulations. That's again, Principal Durkin and Coach. Congratulations.
All right, y'all. Begin on 3. 1, 2, 3.
I do want to recognize Carolina Elementary. I think Ms. Keels just walked in. If we could recognize attendance-wise for schools less than 400, Ms. Casey Keels at Carolina Elementary. If you can come forward.
Good job. 1, 2, 3.
Tonight, we would like to recognize our Superintendent's Student Leadership Council. It's a group.
I just want you to call it. I wanted to take this one. This group of students has been meeting with the superintendent every quarter, and if you ever doubt that our future is bright, you should spend some time with these students, because every quarter they have challenged us to think differently, provide new perspective, and ask really, really good questions. And so I wanted to thank them for being on my first Superintendent Students Council, but also I know that they have provided great value for all of our programming this year. And so with that, we created a video from some of the folks who were in attendance at our last meeting. And so before we announce their names and give them their medallions to wear at graduation, I wanted to show this video to you.
Anything that you may not understand about the district, your school, or things like that, it seemed to get answered and seemed to make a lot more sense in the meetings when talking to the superintendent. With his explanation, on certain things, it has helped and really changed my perspective, and not only my perspective, but other students. And I've even, told staff members some things that we've discussed, and it's changed their perspective too. So,
and I really like the idea of them having kids speak and hear us out from our point of view, and not just having the teachers, the principal speak for us. Because I feel like us being students, they don't know what we go through. They just see the outside picture and not understand what we're going through, like on the inside.
I've learned that it's a tough job, because you have to make things based on the kids, because it's a lot of kids that you have to watch over and take care of. And plus, even for safety for the kids, because the parents will are very worried about their kids at school sometimes.
Well, I mean, besides getting out of class and getting free food, I mean, it does let you kind of have the one-on-one conversations. It lets you feel like, you might not be involved in all these other things like sports, or you're doing all these different closing activities. This is something you can do at school with during the time that you're there, and it doesn't really take out from your regular day, and it is very important. I mean, people need to hear, or the superintendent needs to hear what the students have to say, because without that, it's your students make up your whole district. Without the students, there is no school district. It's just very valuable.
Well, I know that at Hartsville High School there was a impeachment letter posted about the superintendent, and it covered stuff about e-learning days and like early dismissal, late arrival being taken away, but when you meet with him, he clears up everything. I mean, things that have been said are just like miscommunication, not so much like these big problems. Like I was worried about early dismissal being taken away just because as an athlete, I like having that little bit of time before the game. But I mean, that's not being taken away. He just said like, be in school type thing, so.
Some of those ideas I would say are definitely the testing. I know that we did speak about students not being able to write in cursive or read in cursive, which the superintendent, Dr. Ferguson, did actually listen to us and actually provided tools for us to learn. So that was really great. It's not the fact of a lot of students getting what they want necessarily, but it's administration and students being able to meet in the middle rather than one person just getting what they want.
When my principal had emailed us about it, I was quite interested in it because I do like leadership positions and I'm always like putting myself out there. And when we had our first meeting, I was really excited because I had bulleted points of everything I wanted to discuss and I feel like it was very productive. So I loved it. I remember our very first question was talking about the food portion sizes because I know it's been a pretty big issue, especially with like elementary and then middle school and the high school, because I remember when I was in middle school, the portion sizes were okay for then, but then when we transitioned to the high school, I feel like it's still the same portion size. And that was like a very big topic because, you know, some kids don't get the opportunity to eat at home. So we want them to have nutritious, balanced, and for like fulfilling meals that really cater to everyone. So I feel like that was one of our biggest points that we had to address.
I feel that it's been like really helpful and fun. I've been able to voice my opinion to our superintendent and just understand why things are the way that they are in our school, our environment. But I'm also able to get feedback, and I just think it's helpful, and I get to voice that to the rest of our student body.
Your voice has power, right? And I feel as though people have forgotten that they have the ability to make change in the world, and we've stopped showing that it's possible, and we've stopped pushing that agenda that it's possible to make a change because they don't realize that their voice has power. They have the ability to make a difference in the world, and you do have that ability. I just want everyone to know that.
And these children are truly great. Our future is bright. So I want to thank them for serving on the superintendent's cabinet, and also we're going to give them a medallion today to be able to wear at graduation. And our juniors who are on the cabinet will come back next year to serve as seniors, and they will also next year get a medallion to have the swag at graduation. So Dr. Nichols, if you will call the names.
Matthew Drake Allen from Lamar High School and Darlington County Institute of Technology, if you'll come forward.
Yes, sir, absolutely. All right, right here on three. 1, 2, 3. Excellent, good job. Thank you.
Corbin Anderson, Lamar High School. Caden Berry, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology, and Darlington County Institute of Technology. Ms. Lenore and Mr. Smith, if you come up.
Miss Lenore.
Ms. Lenore. There she comes.
I was talking to Mace.
You had your husband?
All right, y'all. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Good. Good job. Thank you.
Jaden Best, Lamar High School. Zaria Brazilia, Hartsville High School and Darlington County Institute of Technology. Charles Cox, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology.
One, two, three. Good.
Maya Harvey, Hartsville High School. Hannah Johnson, Darlington High School. Catherine Cooley, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology. Ann Lee, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology.
One, two, three. Good.
Colton McElveen, Lamar High School. Courtney McMillan, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology, and Darlington County Institute of Technology. Gavin Neal, Hartsville High School.
Right here first. One, two, three.
Michaela O'Neill, Hartsville High School and Darlington County Institute of Technology. Geronta Perkins, Darlington High School and Darlington County Institute of Technology. Zachary Robinson, Hartsville High School and Darlington County Institute of Technology. Hazel Rose, Hartsville High School.
Wait, no, sorry. Yeah, let's do that one first. Oh, okay. Good. We got it. Good. One, two, three. Good.
Liam Rousey, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology.
All right. Meet. Oh. One, two, three. Good.
Jeremy Spears, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology.
One, two, three. Good.
Rodney Spears, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology, and Darlington County Institute of Technology.
One more, Rodney. One, two, three. Good.
Nathan Thompson, Darlington High School and Darlington County Institute of Technology. Nicholas Wells, Darlington High School. Alexa White, Darlington High School.
This is my other daughter.
One, two, three. Good.
Jonathan Williams, Hartsville High School.
One, two, three. Good.
Caitlin Williams, Mayo High School for Math, Science, and Technology.
All right. One, two, three.
And Olivia Zimmon from Lamar High School. Thank you all.
And as exciting as all that was, I know that there's a lot of studying and such that needs to be going on. Final exams are rolling in. So if anyone would like to, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if not, we'll pause right now while everyone takes an exit.
How are you?
Well, now that's a small bunch of us. We'll continue. We'll continue on with our consent items. We've got the our next regular board meeting will be a special called meeting, and that will be, if I got my paperwork right here, April the 27th in the training room at the district office, and our next regular board meeting will be May 18th, also then at our district office. I've got our consent items for. Oh, it's going to be here. We're back here again. We must have a bunch of awards, so it's going to be back here.
And it's on the 11th.
Pardon?
The 11th.
On the 11th. Special calls only? Yeah. No, that's not a special call.
No, that's a regular.
Right. The regular meeting
Is on the 11th.
on the 11th. Okay. And now we have our consent items of our board minutes from March the 9th. Can I get a motion to approve? Can I get a second? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Reports, let's move on to, we have our attorney present for us, and it's Mr. Ben Ziegler, and he is our bonding attorney, and he's going to give us a briefing on board referendum ethics as we are moving forward with stuff this fall. It's not legal advice.
So did you mean to skip the adult?
It's new. While he's passing that out, can I get a motion to approve the adult education?
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move on. Sorry.
I got one.
All right.
Great. You ready for me, Madam Chair?
I am.
Great,
You're
thank
right,
you.
Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you for, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's always a pleasure to be with you. As y'all have just mentioned, y'all are looking at going out to the voters with the bond referendum later this year. And I have to tell you a quick story. My first big bond referendum I did for Darlington County School District in 2004. Can't believe that was 21 years ago, but I got to work with Dr. Knight on that, and it was successful, I think, after a failed referendum, and I learned a lot in that process, particularly from her and John Timms, who was the finance director at the time. But it's good to be back with you, and it's always fun to work on a referendum. I think, as y'all know, it's to get big projects done in a county like Darlington, you really do have to go to the voters from time to time because you will exceed your 8% debt limit, and that's something that's done very carefully and cautiously, because a bond referendum really is sort of a vote of confidence in the schools, and so it's always something that's exciting, but it's also something that can be a source of some anxiety and trepidation. But one of the things you really have to keep your eye on when you're doing it is the constraints that the State Ethics Act puts on not just the school board, but the district and its employees in general. It's kind of an awkward thing because you as a board agree that the projects that you're going to put before the voters are good projects and good enough to put to the voters. And there's a general assumption that you as a board and the district family believe that these are worthy projects, yet you have to be very careful that you are not in a position to advocate for those projects or against those projects. And let me start the referendum you've got, the memorandum you've got in front of you. I just want to read 2 paragraphs of it because I think it's really the key. State Ethics Act, Section 8-13-1346 of the South Carolina Code has a provision that's basically, it's very simple, but it encapsulates everything you've got to think about when you as a board and when the district as a whole is positioning itself within this context of a disputed, contested election, if you will. And I quote, "A person may not use or authorize the use of public funds, property, or time to influence the outcome of an election." The referendum is an election, so key points are you can't use public funds, public property, public time to influence that election either way. So basically, the simplest constraints you've got is you can't use district telephones, copiers, email accounts, social media. No asset of the district can be used to advocate either way in the referendum. Similarly, district employees, when they're on district time, cannot advocate for or against the referendum question. There's no prohibition, as I say at the bottom of the first page of the memorandum, with respect to anyone going out on their own time, on their personal time, and using their personal email or using their personal cell phone or telephone to advocate for or against the referendum question. But you can't do it when you're on district time. We'll talk about that in a little more detail in a second. So I've got a few examples on page 2 to consider. Again, can't use district telephones to have conversations regarding advocacy, district email accounts, computers, printers, copiers, and no district supplies can be used, paper and the like. You can't use a social media account that's the property of the district, and you can't have meetings advocacy sessions, whatever you want to call it, strategy sessions on school district property. Now, there are several exceptions to this general prohibition against the use of district resources. If you look at the bottom of page 2, it doesn't prohibit the incidental use of time and materials for preparation of a newsletter reporting the activities of the body of which the public official is a member. And it doesn't prohibit the expenditure, use of public resources to prepare informational materials. So you've got some leeway to provide to the voters, particularly in light of the fact that you're going to have some pretty major projects here, descriptions of what exactly you're financing, what your financial advisor says the millage impact is going to be. Anything that's sort of basic, neutral fact can be presented, promulgated using district resources. And you will have a lot of need for that. You'll have a lot of questions regarding what's this all about? How does this fit in with the district's overall long-term capital plan? How much is this going to cost me as a taxpayer? How long is it going to take? How many students can these facilities accommodate? All the basic sort of factual stuff. So as long as you're giving neutral facts, the district can promulgate as much information as it wants. So that's the informational materials. And on page 3, I give some examples of the informational material you can provide. One thing we've found in the past in representing clients that have referenda questions, and particularly when they're contested, there are a lot of people who call the district and want to know verbally. I mean, you can send out a newsletter, you can send out an e-blast, but when people start soliciting information from the district, you've got to be really careful to have one central source for that. So you've got a great public information officer in Audrey. She should probably be your point of contact. And when someone calls you as a board member, or Dr. Ferguson, if they call you, if you see toward the bottom of the page, I just have a simple script that says, "Thank you for asking about this, but I'm restricted by law on what I can say about the referendum. Please call Audrey Childers, who's the district information officer, and he or she will provide you the information that you're looking for." So it's very important to have that single point of contact, to be consistent, and to make sure that those facts are given out in a way that's not potentially violative of the Ethics Act. Of course, almost every referendum I've ever worked on, there's been an advocacy group, a separate third-party advocacy group that's been formed. That group will be formed in your community. Obviously, you can't do it as a district. I would recommend not participating in it as a board member. You can. I would recommend, just to give you another example, to talk about your individual roles as board members. You know, you'll be asked to come speak to the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club. And you can do that, and you can come and say, "I'm Wanda Hassler. I'm not on school district time. I drove my own car here. This is me as Citizen Hassler here to talk about the referendum." But if you do that too much, you're asking for trouble. It's often, if you've got resources, if you've got advocates who can speak on behalf of the district who aren't district employees or officers or officials, it's often better to let them do it, but you can. And the same thing goes for the advocacy group. Obviously, y'all are going to be interested in what they do, and again, as you know, non-board members, you can on your non-board time you can participate, but you need to be careful about how you interact with those advocacy groups. There are rules that apply to the advocacy groups, the most important of which is if they're going to raise more than $2,500 to support the campaign, they have to register with the State Ethics Commission. So I've thrown a lot of information at you. Just keep in mind that basic rule of public funds, public property, and public time can't be used. And when in doubt, don't do it. If there's a gray area there, it's best to stay away from it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
As long as we're providing just straight data, that's all, we can do that with no problem.
Just the facts, yes, sir. And I think you're going to have, I've already met with Audrey and the superintendent, and we've talked about, if she's running the show, she's going to be, I think, be very conscientious and mindful of making sure it's neutral data that's being pushed out to voters.
One quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So that factual data can go out in print, it can be a website.
Yep.
It could be part, like an informational thing on the district website?
Absolutely. Just about everyone I've worked on,
factual.
every referendum I've worked on in the past 10 years, the district or the county or whoever I was doing it for has had something on their website that says referendum, FAQs, you can see the ballot, you can get an explanation.
Refer people to that?
Yeah.
Kind of
That's a great point. It may be better just to say, check out the website. All the information you need is on the website.
It's at the bottom of page 2, it says some of the materials, you can provide information materials and conduct public meetings.
Yes.
So we could even have, as long as it's not on the school property? Or what?
No, you can have that. You can have that public meeting on school property. Again, it's just
information.
So, the facilities you're building, you'll have plans, you'll have conceptual plans, you'll have financial information. That can all be presented at a public meeting on school property. There is another piece of this, and thank you for mentioning that. Having advocacy group meetings, best not to have them on school property. You can if you make school property available to everybody else for meetings. You may not do that. I don't know what your policy is. But my recommendation would be, and y'all aren't the advocacy group, but when you do have one, they should not meet. And it's not just school property. It could be county property, it could be city property. This applies to any sort of public property and public resources. But great point about the website.
And when does this go into effect? So is this today or is this after the board?
This goes into effect when you enact the resolution calling for the referendum. Once y'all can debate and talk all you want to about the concept of it, but once you take legal action to set up the referendum and there's now an election taking place, that's a great point. Good.
Could you speak briefly too, because this is also an election year for, for council, for board members. How do they manage that dual role?
That is a really, really good question. You're out campaigning, obviously, and you're going to, the referendum is something that you are going to be campaigning. I would think most of you, if you vote to put the referendum in front of voters, you're going to be campaigning with that as one of your planks of your platform. You are within the law if you, as a candidate, out just campaigning on the stump, talk about it, promote it. Again, it has to be clear that you're not acting in your capacity as a member of the board of trustees, which you're not. I mean, unless y'all are all together in a quorum, individually y'all don't have legal authority to do much, if anything. So when you're out campaigning, you're safe. And it always helps to preface it by saying I'm a member of the school board, but I'm also a candidate, and as a candidate and as a citizen, this is what I think. I mean, what has to happen, keep in mind, is there's no State Ethics Act police. Someone will report you to the State Ethics Commission if they think you've violated it. The State Ethics Commission will then do an investigation. They will present the results of the investigation to the commission or to a subset of the commission, and they will determine if there's probable cause to proceed. And then if they proceed, they have the power to fine you and do all sorts of things. So it takes somebody coming forward and saying, aha, I heard Wanda Hassler speaking on the stump somewhere, and she mentioned the referendum, and that's a no-no. Now, there's also a provision in the State Ethics Act that people who falsely accuse you can be fined. So people have to be careful. I mean, the state ethics law has an interesting component to it that people who bring frivolous complaints can get in trouble. So, but
Yeah.
great question. As a candidate, you are well within your rights to talk about it.
I think I heard, so could you clear up, like if I am a candidate for the board, I can be on the stump and say one thing, but if I am a board member on my social media and it is Wanda Hassler, board, district whatever representative, you may be limited in what you can say on your social media.
If it's your social media, if it's Wanda Hassler, if it's not a school district social media account, and you're not, speaking as, the only way y'all can speak is legally as a member of the board of trustees is when you have a quorum and when you're taking action. So, problem with that is here you would be on school property and using school resources. So, but if you have, Wanda, if you have a social media account and you want to advocate as the school board chair, you're not using any school resources, and you're not on school time, it's just like you going and speaking at the Kiwanis Club.
I guess that's where I'm just getting confused because, so obviously unless we're here meeting as a group, we're not on the district's dime. We are on their property right now, so we would be acting as a board. But if I'm just generally out in my community, campaigning or not, and my neighbor or somebody, the grocery store asks me about it,
there's no
what
connection.
I'm not limited. That's a little different than what I thought going into this.
Yeah, no,
But if there's 5 of us at an advocacy event, that's a quorum.
Exactly, and that's a whole other problem. Under FOIA,
So that's
under
another-
FOIA, you'd have to give notice
Right.
that you're all going to be at the party.
Yeah, and I think we're careful about not.
Well, although FOIA does have an exception for incidental contact, basically if you show up at a party and there happen to be 5 of you there, but one's
Right.
over here, one's over here, one's over here, they're not going to consider you to have had a public meeting.
But just generally speaking, if somebody in the neighborhood or in my area asks me about it,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always, again, if you're at all worried with these people trying to trap you, you just, begin by saying, I'm speaking to you as a citizen and not as necessarily as a board member. And I'm not utilizing any school resources. And of course, none of you are ever on, you don't clock in and clock out. And I guess there's some argument that you're always on, but the nature of the law is that, again, unless you have a quorum, the only way y'all can act is as a group of school trustees with a quorum.
I think that the smart and safe way to approach it is like we do anything that's asked of us. We say, I am one person. I am not the board. I'm speaking, these are my thoughts. I'm not representing the board in this conversation, but this is how I and Kelly feel about it.
Yep.
I think we're smart about
And
that.
then if you want facts, go to the website or call Audrey to get the
Exactly.
actual, into the nitty-gritty facts, so that we're not spreading potential
And when we do
misinformation.
if y'all decide to move forward and we do your resolution, we will make it pretty robust with respect to findings, so that when you're asked to justify, well, why do we need this? Who says, you can just say, look at the resolution, speaks for itself. It's got all the pertinent information in it in terms of findings.
Now, we're gonna be confronted about people that are for the referendum, and then we're gonna be confronted with people that is against the referendum. So, what I'm trying to ask you, I don't want to say anything either way, because I don't want to, because sometimes they can misinterpret
Oh, sure, yeah.
what you say, and then next thing you know, your name is in the media and saying that you said this and you said this.
Occupational hazard.
Yeah,
elected
so
office.
I'm looking at it from, both sides of the coin, that if they come to me and ask me anything, I would just rather say, be on the safe side, because I'm not a legal expert, that that you need to contact Miss Audrey Childers.
Perfect.
If you have any questions
You are well within
concerning
your rights
the
to say,
referendum and,
I'm for this, but if you want to, or you don't even have to say that, just say, there's a lot of good information on this
that's right,
website.
go to the school district's website and look at the information. I just don't want to say anything, really. because it could be misconstrued
That is
so
your
easily.
right. That is your right not to say anything.
I'd say, I don't want no paper in the mail from me, letter in the mail from the Ethics Commission.
I mean, I agree with that, but I mean, if I vote for
Well, they're gonna know how we
referendum-
vote anyway, because it's gonna be online.
Well, they may not, because unless they go back and look.
Yeah, and just
They
because
don't
you
know.
vote to put something before the voters, you may be against it, but you may think it's, this is something the voters need to decide. I've never known too many elected officials on county councils or school boards who've voted to put something on
That they didn't.
what they didn't support, but that's certainly a possibility. But we're just down the road in Florence. If anything comes up, superintendent and chair have my cell phone number, and we can answer
Well,
questions for you.
I'm curious about the advocacy group,
Yep.
the role that we can play in helping to form that group.
Now, the district can. The district can't form the group, using district resources. As a matter of fact, when we were talking about that, I told Dr. Ferguson, once that starts moving down the road, the district, I can advise you on what the limitations are. But when it comes time for somebody to set up that advocacy group, the district has to pull back and let them do it. But in terms of participating in it, you've got the right as a citizen to do that. Now, I wouldn't be the president of it.
No, but I mean, we're helping to pull together community members.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Form the group. It's okay as
Absolutely.
individual people.
Just don't use any district resources. And I don't know if y'all get cell phones from the district, you probably don't, but a lot of my clients, all the county council has a county cell phone, and that gets really problematic. Email's always a tricky one. A lot of school districts and counties and cities give their governing body an email. And those are just things you got to be careful about.
All right, everybody got their questions? Anyone else? Thank you.
Well, I hope I'll be back in front of you soon with the
But thank you, this was very informative.
Great, thank y'all.
We need to kind of
Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you again. Dr. Ferguson, our community listening sessions.
Kind of right in line with what Ben was talking about, I wanted to take a few minutes and kind of ground us in how we are approaching this work. And so as y'all all know, this roadmap that we talked about during our work session outlines the process that we have for our referendum and facilities plan from vision to construction. And so we began by listening. We created space for our students, our staff, our families, and community members to share what they see, what they need, and where we must improve. And we went around the district, around the county, to those 3 listening sessions. From here, we'll move into engagement and also taking what we heard and translate that into a clear, prioritized plan. And then once we are past that point, which will be the August-November timeline, is where we will make that, if this board chooses to make that official recommendation to move and call the question of whether or not to have a referendum. The timeline that we would need to follow is that if the board decides to put this plan forward to the voters, we would need to vote on that in August at our August board meeting, and that sets us up for the November referendum. The community would vote in November, and then pending the outcome of that election, we would either begin building with accountability in mind, or we would know the voters have voted against that. So I just want to ground us in that process and share with you next our community listening feedback. And so throughout our 3 meetings and online and in the Kiwanis Club and the pilot clubs and the Rotary clubs and every club that would have us so far, and we are continuing to go to the clubs, we have currently received, when we pulled this data, 140 responses in our feedback. From that, the majority of those responses were specific to Hartsville High School. That's the gray. We had Lamar at 22%, that's the blue. And then Darlington was the dark green, and the light green was in response to all of the projects, but from that, what we see is that 20% of the respondents were fully supportive. They were, yes, we love this plan. 49% of the respondents were, we support the plan, but we want some changes. And then 31% were opposed. But if you dig into the comments from the no's, a lot of the no's are around the same issues that came up with the yes, we support, but we want these changes. So I would take this response as it's not a no, it is that the community, based on this sample of responses, supports the plan, but they want some very specific changes in order to meet the needs of the community. And so what we...
Hold on briefly.
Yes, ma'am.
So is that just from, the way you capture those numbers is from the scan?
And the community, the paper pencil.
Okay, but not the general feedback that we got in those meetings? People standing up and saying, well, I like this, but I don't like that. No, we didn't there's no way to capture all that,
We
right?
didn't capture that
Okay.
in this data. It is, I think...
There were a lot more people than this
Yes.
number that
Right.
gave us feedback.
I think that when we went through all of the comments and read them, and we tried to distill out themes from those comments, and I think that the comment themes are consistent with the forms and also what we heard at those community listening sessions. But you know, I'm certainly open to y'all hearing something that I didn't hear, but I think that the themes that I was able to pull from, we were able to pull from the comments in those sessions, but also reading the comments in the online survey, fell into these 5 buckets. The first is location. Location was a consistent theme that we saw, particularly at Hartsville High School, and to a lesser extent in the comments online, the Spalding Middle School location, but location was a theme that we heard. Traffic and parking was a theme that we heard a lot. That also seemed to be mostly tied to the Hartsville High School project and it's similar to the location of Hartsville High School, but it was enough, there was enough just talking about the traffic part that I felt like that was something important to pull out, because regardless of whether or not it's in Kellytown or not, we need to make sure that we are attuned to the traffic concerns. The third theme was facility design. There was a lot of specific feedback around Spalding Middle School about a cafeteria space, making sure that some of those shared spaces, we were considerate of what that space and design would look like. There was a lot of comments around cost and financial stewardship, folks being really interested in making sure that we were not raising taxes and being concerned that these plans would raise taxes. And then finally, a theme around community identity, and that one was also most pronounced in the Lamar area around the Spalding Middle School name. Are there any things that you all heard at those community listening sessions that is not reflected in those themes?
The only thing that I hear that the people didn't like, that we didn't have a future plan for Darlington High or Lamar High, and they feel that the kids, we got good middle schools and good elementary and middle schools, but what's gonna happen to them when they get on the high school level? And they feel that they want the same thing Hartsville High School students got in high technology schools and access to have everything. That's what I have been hearing from my constituents and in the community, is that they want same access to the same thing for all the students.
Yes, ma'am, and that was something that showed up, particularly in the Darlington community meeting around future plans for our other facilities.
Right.
I think there is a balance we've got to find between making sure that we provide every location a equitable access to facilities while also balancing the cost and financial stewardship piece, because high schools are expensive and there is no way financially that we could build 2 high schools in one building.
We understand that, of course.
And so,
but they don't want to be in no patch-up schools.
Kind of what, I'm sorry, is there anything else that I missed on that?
So are you just saying maybe we need to not only be presenting this, but make sure we're presenting how it fits into the longer term, which I know we're doing, but maybe emphasize that, like, that whole picture over time as we present. Yep, okay.
And I think it's going to be important to say that it's a process and it's within the larger context of, we've talked about 20 years of facility upgrades in Darlington County. And we cannot, should not likely predict what is going to be the priority when the next facility study comes out, because we need to be open that, when we complete these projects, do another facility study, there may be priorities that we don't see today that may come of that facility study. And I think we should be open to what the experts are recommending, looking at our total picture then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just show it as a process we've been doing for decades, but be careful not to predict the future because we don't know what that might be. That makes sense. Thank you.
And so moving forward, what I heard and recommendations that I would make to the board is that we did listen, we did learn from this process, and now we're working to improve the plan for better, to be able to better serve our students and our community. So under location, I think that we should start evaluating alternative sites for Hartsville High School using criteria such as safety, access, and long-term growth. I've gone back to the architects and talked to them about what would be some of their recommendations for a site if we were not selecting Kellytown. And so what would alternative sites look like? And let's at least explore other options besides Kellytown. I think that, again, there would be trade-offs in that because one of the reasons that we are recommending the co-location of Hartsville High School at the Kellytown Stadium Arena, we would not be able to likely keep it within budget and move the football field or the baseball field. And so they would likely have to remain separate spaces if we choose an alternate site. But I think we should look for a site that would provide enough land that at some point in the future, if a board wanted to move those at a later date, we're not landlocked. That was something that came up often in the conversation around Kellytown as potentially being landlocked on that site. So that would be my recommendation as far as location. For facility design, particularly around Spalding Middle School, there was a lot of concern about some of those shared spaces. So looking again with the architects to refine our facility design to ensure complete future-ready spaces and some of that sharing of the cafeteria space, for example. And so in talking to the architects, we talked about what it could look like where the kitchen would be shared between Lamar Elementary School and Spalding Middle School, but there would be a separate dining area at the middle school so that we could.
Have its own identity, not just be like a wing off of.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so to look at that design and make that a more prominent feature and get some drawings that show that outside too, so that it doesn't look like a wing. And so that would be the recommendation around facility design for Spalding Middle School. I think it's also important, something that we heard again around Spalding Middle School in particular was the importance of the name Spalding Middle School. And in many cases where the board policy around naming schools originated, it looks as though that is around the consolidation of several different schools. But Spalding Middle School is similar to Hartsville High School in that we are taking an intact school and we are recommending that that school just move geographic location. And so I think I would recommend to this board that we just put that to bed and say Hartsville High School is going to be Hartsville High School, whether it's in Hartsville, Kellytown, or some new site, and Spalding Middle School will be Spalding Middle School, whether or not it's where it's currently located or whether it moves. And since we are not combining schools, there is no need that we have to change the name. And so that would be my recommendation as far as the identity of Spalding Middle School, keeping the name. And then finally, I think that as we refine our plan, we need to make sure that we are aligning our available funding and ensuring strong stewardship so that when we make these changes, we're working within our budget, whereas we don't increase taxes. And I think there are ways to realize savings in some places as we make adjustments, but to keep our total number under the number in which there are no new taxes required to fund this facilities plan. And so, listening to the community, analyzing the feedback that we've got, these 4 buckets are the administration's recommendations for how to proceed. And if it is okay with you, if we haven't missed anything at our next work session, we can have the architects come and say, what would it look like? What would be the requirements for a site for a new Hartsville High School? What would be a design for Spalding Middle School that is responsive to some of the feedback that we received? And then, I think if y'all are okay with it too, we can stay within policy and keep the Spalding Middle School name, and we can know that you would like for us to work within the budget that we have so that we are not raising taxes.
Yeah, I think that was a miss, just predicting that, because I wish we'd have thought to say in Lamar, like, nobody even, it crossed no one's mind that Hartsville High School would become a different name. Why? We could have just squashed that and probably should have, and that's, looking back, we learned from that, but I would agree with that. There's no reason to consider a new name when it's just a new location for the school, a new improved school. It's the same school. There's no reason for us to even like wring our hands over thinking about that. That to me is an easy decision in both of those cases.
Mr. Jeffords?
I agree. I mean, I never even thought about changing the name of Spalding myself. I thought it was going to be Spalding from the beginning.
And there's no reason why it shouldn't, in my opinion.
I agree.
And so I think we can say, and we should say, that the purpose of the community listening sessions was to take a proposal to the voters, to the community, to listen to the feedback and be responsive to that feedback. And I think we can demonstrate from this process that we listened, we heard you, we adjusted based on the feedback that we heard from the community.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what they bring back to us. Hopefully, it can address these things very clearly so that we're, don't have to do another round. If we have a lot of compromises to make, it could, yeah. Anyway, I'll be anxious to see what they bring to us.
Well, and I think too is that the most people, it seems, are in favor of new schools for students, particularly if it doesn't increase their taxes. And I think this is a way that we can say, we heard you, we listened, and we have been responsive, and this is the plan that we have. I did not hear, I shouldn't say that, because I'm sure there are some individuals who do not think that there needs to be a new Spalding Middle School or a new Hartsville High School or a new Lamar or Darlington Elementary School. But the vast, vast majority of the community seem to recognize that all 3 of those projects were worthwhile. All right, Madam Chair, that is all I have for the community listening. Ms. Douglas is not here because she is still at the office working on some issues that came up late in the day, but I'm also happy to answer any questions about the budget. And if I don't have the answer about the budget, I'm happy to take those and get you an answer. But I do know that Ms. Douglas has been working furiously on our revenue projections, and it is our plan that at the April special called meeting that we will begin digging into the budget process for next year and giving some recommendations, options for the board to consider at that point to start moving us through the budget process. We just recently received updates from the House and the Senate where we think we feel confident, as confident as you can feel at this time around what the state budget is doing. We've been working with the county on updated revenue numbers, and we plan to have a longer budget work session at our April meeting.
Can you remind me? We have to have a budget passed by
June
in June?
30th. Yes, ma'am.
June or July?
June. Well, June.
By the end of June.
By the end of June.
So we would, and there's 2 readings?
Yes,
So we'd need to vote on it in May and again in June?
First reading in May and second reading in June.
Unless we had some special called some things we had to do?
Yes,
Okay, okay, thank you.
Anybody have any questions about the budget? Dr. Nichols.
Covering our formative assessment data. And thank you again for sending that out prior to the meeting.
Welcome.
It's a lot easier to understand if you've had a preview of it.
Yes, it's a lot to interpret and to look at, so. There we go. So I used basically the same, well, it was the same format because just it's a lot to look at and have some of that information there. We are, of course, tracking for 75% of our students to meet or exceed on SC standards by 2030. Just to show you again, this was just as a reminder of how the iReady works. iReady is our formative assessment that we are using. The 5-level placement, if you notice the ones that have the slashes through it, if they're red, that's 3 or more below. If they've got slashes on the green, it means they're above grade level. And I just show you that just to kind of visualize. I'm going to go kind of quickly through the few slides and then get to where our projections are. The bottom that you have there is our fall, and the top here is our spring iReady data. Dr. Ferguson reminded us in SLT today that we have 15 days to testing. So we were just, kind of, feel a little bit of that heat, but we've got a plan and we are working it hard, and I'll share that in a little bit. But as you can see, what is great to see without me summarizing it, your greens are growing, which means our students on grade level or above is growing, and our students below or more than 3 grade levels below is shrinking. And that is positive as we go forward. And that was for, third through 5th reading. This is a proficiency mapping that iReady provides us with. The dark purple, blue, I don't know what you would call that. Those are the exceeds kids. And then your bluish color is the meets, and then the maroons are the does not meet. But you can see from where we were projecting at the first of the year to the end of the year, we are projecting well ahead. And then it's broken down by grade level if you would like to look at that. This is really, I had our coordinators work this out for me and say, where we're at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. I do want to put a disclaimer in there. There are a few kids that we're still waiting on testing, but it shouldn't change this majorly. And you can see the trend is ticking up, and that is a good thing. And our projected proficiency is projecting up. We are either maintaining in some grade levels or we are moving up. And you can see the schools and which schools are moving up and showing some really strong standings. As a district, we're projecting to be about 2.3 points higher than we were last year in ELA. Our 3rd grade is a small dip. Our 4th grade is another bump, and then our 5th grade goes down just a little bit. These are just projections, though, and I'm going to talk at the very end about what we think we can do with those numbers from now until the next 3 weeks. So when last time I shared with you about the students who met their annual growth measures, so they made that annual growth that they should make. Now, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily on grade level, because if they come in behind, then they may only make that 1 year's of growth. But 65% of students, 3rd through 5th, met their annual growth measure. 33% met their stretch growth, which meant they grew beyond 1 year. And that's a good thing. I'm excited about that. All grade levels increased the number of students on grade levels and reduced the number of students 2 to 3 grade levels behind. And according to this iReady data, we should have about 52% of students are on track for meeting or exceeding on the SC Ready. And again, we attribute that to the focus on high quality instructional materials, PLCs being very focused and data driven.
And just kind of to put some context on that, generally speaking, you expect about half of kids or less to meet their annual growth.
Yes.
And about 18 to 20% of kids to meet their stretch growth. And so our students this year are beating national averages, national trends, and the percentage of children who met their annual growth and the percentage of children who met their stretch growth. So it's not, we're not yet meeting proficiency, but we are closing gaps.
We are closing gaps. And the other thing that we can attribute this to is that iReady does a good job of coming in and training our teachers how to use that data and how to work with that data and how to turn that into instruction. So that's also, I think, that I have to attribute that that's part of the success that's going on here. You don't see K through second. I meant to mention that at the beginning because our kindergarten through seconds are going to be testing during SC Ready time so that they kind of, you know, the whole school's kind of doing the same thing at the same time. So that's why I don't have those numbers, but I'll be glad to give you those once we have those. Math, as you can see, we see also positive gains there. You're seeing less students. We went from 16% 2 to 3 grade levels behind to 6%, and that's encouraging. Again, same type of chart here. You can see from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, it's not where we want to be long term, but it is definitely growth. And then we look at our math, we see some really good trends there. Our district, you can see, is trending 10 points ahead of where they were last year. And that's amazing. Third grade, again, a little bit of a decrease in math. Fourth grade, an uptick, and then in fifth grade, an uptick. And again, I'll talk to you about what the plans are, because these numbers aren't final yet, right? We're not to the end of the game yet.
What data is driving that? Like, but what, I mean, is this, because testing hasn't happened yet.
This is iReady, so this is our test that we give the kids.
It's the old math.
Okay.
Old math.
Old math, okay.
New, it's the same concept. But they're pretty closely aligned to SC Ready. Now, of course, with math, they're going to do a new study. They'll do a new linking study as soon as that comes out, because it's a new test this year. So, 49% of students 3rd through 5th met their annual growth measures. 18, 3rd through 5th met their stretch. 67% of students 3rd through 5th improved their placement, so they went up a placement, whether that meant they went from, you know, 1 grade level below to on grade level, or vice, you know, going on up the chain. All grade levels increased the number of students on grade level and reduced the number of students 2 to 3 grade levels behind. And according to iReady data, if students 3rd through 5th grade met their annual growth target, 47% are on track for being meets or exceeds. And again, I attribute that to the coordinators, the coaches that are working with them in those high quality instructional materials. Math has been new this year. There's always historically, a little bit of a dip, or it stays a little stagnant when you've got new curriculum and new standards. But our teachers are working really, really hard. And it is a different way. If you're hearing out there, they're doing math a little different, or I don't understand. It is a little different, but we believe that the research is behind it, and we are going to get the long-term results for our students. But anything new is a struggle. 6th through 8th, ELA, you can see the numbers shrinking there. Of course, we know with research that the older a child gets, the harder it is to close the gaps. So it is not surprising that you don't see as big of growth as you did with the smallers. Same thing here, we're moving the needle for those students to be on grade level or above. And then here is our middle school ELA. Our district is projecting higher than it was last year. 6th grade's a little bit of a dip. I think it could go either way. 7th grade, we're projecting ahead, and 8th grade, we are projecting ahead in ELA, and that's pretty awesome. I'm excited to see where that goes. And of course, if you look from where they came at the beginning of the year. 67% of 6th through 8th students made their annual growth measure, so that is awesome. 31% of the 6th through 8th graders met their stretch measure, and 60% of students improved a grade placement or A placement. All grades levels increased the number of students who were 2 to 3 grade levels behind. And according to iReady data, if 6th through 8th graders met their annual target, 52% of the students will be on track to meet or exceed SC Ready. And again, we attribute the same thing. We're just being highly focused. Math, same thing. You can kind of see the same trends here. We're shrinking the ones that are behind and growing the ones on grade level. Math is definitely an area, middle school, that we are focusing on. The district, you can see we're trending to be a little bit ahead of last year. 6th grade's going to meet right there. 7th grade gets a boost. And 8th grade goes down a little bit. Now, am I excited? Do I go home at night and go, yes, 21% of our kids are on grade level? No, but this is a journey, and you got to start somewhere, and I feel like we are moving in the right direction, and that's what's important. 53% of those students met their annual target measure, 23% of students met their stretch growth, and 54% improved their placement. They all increased reduced the numbers of 2 to 3 grade levels behind. So if we keep doing that, hopefully that's going to close that gap. According to iReady data, if students 6th through 8th grade met their annual target, 27% of students are on track for meets or exceeds. And again, we know that is not where we want to be, but we are growing and we are learning and working together to get better. Last time, y'all probably remember me showing you those little dots. We want the dots to be above that, the middle line there, because that means, there's high growth. We do have more schools over in the low performance high growth. We have one school in the high performance high growth, but the dots moved is what I want y'all to realize. I know y'all liked the dots from last time. I did too. They were easy to look at. This is ELA. Math, you can see what I just said. We still have some work to do. But this gives principals, instructional leaders at the building tangible things to look at. So the power of 3, that is, and I thought about showing a little video, but the power of 3, Dr. Ferguson challenged me to ask our principals and all those that work with students to look at their data, identify those children who are close, and every staff member who is certified to work with 3 students you can pull the things out of iReady for as data and what to use to help push them over the edge. Not only that, we had students who took the DRC Beacon, which is the state's, I don't know, it's the same company that makes our state test. So they took it the Good Friday before we got out for spring break, and so that math data has also been shared with the principals so that they can couple that with the iReady data, and they can really hone in on what Miss Kelly needs, what does Miss Gord need, what does Miss Carreri need in order to move that needle for proficiency. And yes, we do think that in 15 days, school days, we can make a big difference for some of those kids who were right there at the cusp, just getting them over that line. So every staff member at every building, including administrators, coaches, guidance counselors, and other certified personnel. 3 students who are close to proficiency, work with them from now until testing, focus on the skill area identified by iReady, where each student needs additional practice. And it is that finite that it will tell them that. Schedule a regular time for this support. So I ask them, if it's your intervention enrichment block in elementary, that's great. If it's the beginning of the day, the end of the day, lunch, I don't care. You know your schedule. Figure out when is the best time. And then use the lessons from the teacher toolbox. So I'm not asking you to create anything new. I'm not trying to put a burden on anybody. Those lessons are there. They're very short. I'm talking about 2 to 3 pages. They're very explicit in the nature that they are. And so whether I teach math or don't teach math, I can pick it up and I can teach that lesson. And about 15 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a week, and it can make a huge, huge difference in some of our students who just need that little bit of extra understanding and push.
And I do want to, because people know I love a test and love accountability, but this is not teaching to a test. This is not teaching kids how to game a test. This is saying this child has a deficit in their learning, and how can I fill that gap in the 15 days that are between now and when we're going to need to show up and demonstrate what we know. And so this is not, test-taking strategies. This is not how to game a system. This is not just so they do better on some arbitrary test. This is how can I fill holes and gaps in that student's learning when it still matters. Because these numbers are not final. These numbers still can move, and they should move before students are being asked to show up and demonstrate what they have learned this year. And so, just as one example of how seriously we are taking this, we normally have principal meetings on Wednesdays following the board meeting. And so we were sitting in senior leadership this morning, and I said, y'all, there are 15 school days between now and when students are asked to show up and demonstrate what they know. Is there anything you need to tell people in 2 days that cannot wait until after those 15 days? Because if we think presence matters, and I certainly think the principal in their building leading that charge matters, we don't need to meet with them on Wednesday. And so we have canceled our principals meeting because this is crunch time. This is when everybody needs to be rowing in the same direction to fill instructional gaps for children. And we can't do that if we're constantly pulling people into meetings and making everything else except instruction the goal.
Dr. Ferguson, let me ask you, are teachers doing their own lesson plans, or are they using something like a toolbox kit where it's consistent for different grade levels throughout?
They are using the curriculum and ELA and math that the district provides, but they are being asked to internalize that and think about how best to deliver that lesson to the group of kids that they see every day. And so they're not being asked to create it on their own, curate their own curriculum, but teaching is both an art and a science. We're providing them the tools, but we're not saying you have to read this script. We're saying take it, use your professional judgment to take this on grade level lesson and deliver it to children.
So that makes for more consistency.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll wait. I mean, do you mind if I ask another question? I mean, it's now okay time? Okay, I don't want to get out of the...
There's my questions.
Okay, there we go. Now I feel better now that you have the slide up. I was just going to say, you know me. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here, and just because my kids are in college now, and I know things have changed over time, and this sounds a lot better than what they got, but crunch time when they were in elementary school was like pep rallies and like a lot of pressure on teachers and students. And how are we, instead of pressuring them, and I think you alluded to this, but I would just like to hear you maybe give some examples or something to help people understand how is this different than that? This isn't just pressure, pressure, pressure. Like, how are you actually turning this into like them actually practicing math or practicing reading? So that is this like practice time, like giving them more time to practice and on these skills, that kind of thing? Or can you sort of maybe
on
give
that,
me...
I would say, on the pep rally thing, so one thing we've also said is there better not be a pep rally, a field day, or something taking away from instruction between now and after the assessment.
I see that.
Like,
We did, I sent
there was a field day at more than one school scheduled in the next 15 days. I was like, that better not happen, because we have got to be focused on instruction when we can still change outcomes. But what I will also say is it's not skill and drill bury you in worksheets. It's what is Mandy's deficit? What does Mandy need to know to fill in those gaps and be successful? And so it's not teaching to 30 children. It's saying Mandy, Warren, and Wanda all need this particular skill. And so I'm going to pull them and make sure that I teach those kids how to do that thing that they haven't figured out how to do.
Think about a prescription. I kind of think of it that way. Like, this is the prescription of the thing that you need to get better at whatever it is. And it might be that reading skill that you need, or it could be that math skill that you need. And let me be clear that it's not that we don't do this with children all through the year, but this is the part where we're really looking down and drilling down to, okay, this is, game day, and this is the two things we need to do to make sure that you're successful and on grade level. Because we know that students that leave on grade level are more likely to be successful over the course of their school career and therefore college career, military ready. So I look at it like that, and not so much about it's a test. It's really about proficiency and being able to have those opportunities that you don't get if you're not proficient in those things.
And is it true to say, like, in the last few years, or I don't know, definitely since my kids were in elementary school, we now have this data that allows you to give those prescriptions to individuals that maybe didn't exist in the past. So that's one of the changes to the way things are done.
It is much, much better of what we have and what the companies, and you can hone in to where instead of kind of being in a ballpark, you actually know, which base they're on. and what you might, and then it gives the teacher those specific things of, here's the things to do with the lesson, not just go do them and figure it out. Here's the actual lesson that you can use with that student.
Thank you for helping me understand that. And my last question, and I'll give it to anybody else on the board, the field days. I know I'm gonna get some call from some parent that field day got canceled. Like, they're still gonna have it.
Field day can happen
It's
at
just
the
gonna happen
end of
after
May.
testing. Perfect.
Just not at the beginning of May.
After the test,
Yes.
got it, okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes. We are not canceling field day. We are rescheduling it to an appropriate time within the instructional calendar.
Perfect, thank you.
Dr. Nichols, you know this is always mine. And I, with you, am not, you know, some of these numbers are looking better, some not. But I think if you go in and look, the absolute number of, you know, meets, or essentially would be meets expectations. There's a lot of churn behind, and I think we have, so many of our kids started so far behind. And if you look deeply into these numbers, we see a lot of growth. The absolute number is not where we want it to be, but we've got to get the growth so then we can get the absolute number. And whereas before we weren't getting the growth.
Correct.
And so I think while some of these final numbers are not numbers that, you know, I think we could rest our laurels on, I think there is certainly evidence that may not come out in a final number that shows. My question is, we started so far behind, and every year it seems like the beginning of the school year, it's like we start behind again. And so how can we sustain these kids? We work so hard to get the higher growth. How can we sustain them so that they start, instead of starting back again back here, we start them back. They're starting at a higher place. They're still behind, but they're starting further ahead than they were the last time. So, I mean, I guess that's my...
Yeah, I think that the teachers having that data in their hands as soon as possible is really, really important, because we're not wasting time, you know, a month of school before we test kids to find out where they are, where they've been. I think that tracking process is important. I also commend the state for, you know, I know the first grade recommendation for summer reading camp is not probably everybody's yay. I'm super excited about it though, because the younger we start and we're able to provide that extra support, extra time for those students. In my former district, we did a K-2 camp, and I saw lots of growth where kids come back year after year because we closed the gap. For many of them. And then some, you know, they just needed that extra time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I am actually sort of excited about that summer camp, and I've told folks, you know, we're going to take the children who need to come, regardless of whether or not, I know you all are familiar with good clause exemptions and things. They still should come if they can come, because all kids can grow.
I mean, I appreciate all this, the teachers and the staff and everybody, especially this, you know, this, everyone pulling in here to, because that's what we're here for, is for the students. I mean, I think one of the students even said that on their, if we don't have students, we don't have a district. So, you know, wiser words were not spoken. So, anybody else have any questions or comments?
I just appreciate what you're doing, Ms. Nichols, and I thank Dr. Ferguson for some new ideas and new programs that he's implemented with you all that's helping you all grow. And I know with change, it takes time. You're not going to get it done overnight. It takes time to get these children numbers up and get them on an even keel. But I appreciate the efforts that you all do, because I know it's not easy.
I have a good team. I have a really good team. And he is. He's very supportive, and he takes my crazy ideas and thinks they're good. Sometimes he gives me a few too.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. Dr. Ferguson, you have some other things that you need to update us about?
I do. It's a long meeting tonight, y'all. I know that. But y'all know my slide. We are focused on excellence in teaching and learning for each child every day, but want to take a few minutes to update everybody on some good news, but also because you all got the email on some kind of alarming news that I want to make sure that I said out loud to all of you. But Over the weekend, we were the target of an email impersonation attack. And so as a result, all of our 2025 W-2 information for employees was inadvertently sent to an unauthorized third party. We have begun an investigation that indicates that this was not a breach of our internal systems. It was the result of a spoofing email, and it did not authorize our district networks. And so we've acted quickly once we were made aware of the situation. We have reported the incident to the Internal Revenue Service, to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. We've notified our insurance carriers. We've also initiated an internal review to confirm the scope and ensure the security of our systems. All employees were notified today with actionable steps to protect their information. This includes making sure that you file your tax returns as soon as possible, monitoring for suspicious activity, and taking additional protective measures such as obtaining IRS identity protection, PIN, or placing fraud alerts. And so one reason that we wanted to make sure that we got it out as soon as possible today was that if you are an employee who has already filed your taxes, you are less at risk. And with tax day being Wednesday, hopefully, most people have filed their taxes at this point. But if you had not, we wanted to tell you as soon as we were made aware of it so that we made the employees aware as soon as we knew. We will be working in the coming days to follow up that communication with employees and working to provide credit monitoring and identity protection services. Employees will receive that additional information directly from us once those services are finalized, but that'll come out in a few days. We didn't want to wait on that official notification letter with Wednesday being a few days away. We wanted to let folks know as quickly as possible. This was a serious situation, and our focus is on supporting our employees, maintaining transparency, and strengthening our safeguards moving forward. Chad and I were talking today, and Chad used the analogy that the good guys have to be right 100% of the time. The bad guys only have to be right 1% of the time. And so this was an incident where someone thought they were responding to an email to me, actually, and working over the weekend to provide information that they thought I had requested. I, in fact, had not requested that information, and so we inadvertently disclosed that information to an unauthorized third party. And so, that happened this weekend. We've worked with attorneys, insurance, SLED, et cetera today, and got that communication out right after lunch, and then we'll be following up with further communication in the coming days. But wanted to make you all aware of that, and that email went out to all employees today.
How was it identified that that happened?
The self-reported, the person had second thoughts after, and it's like, I should check on that, and when they checked on that, they reported that they made a mistake. And so we were able to quickly identify, make sure that our network was not compromised, but unfortunately there was no way to pull back the information. On to good news, which is really what I wanted to tell you about tonight. The first reports for our attendance incentive for teachers, perfect attendance in Q3 is back. And so I just wanted to tell y'all that after implementing our teacher perfect attendance increased by 33% in Q3 compared to semester 1 numbers. It was a 12% increase from Q1. It was a 64% increase from Q2. So on average, we went up a full third. Raw, Ms. Hassler will call me out on the raw numbers. The overall percentages are not where we yet want to be, but we had 208 teachers who earned perfect attendance in Q3, and we are making meaningful improvements beyond teacher attendance in Q1 and Q2, and looking forward to what our Q4 looks like to close out the year. We also saw, which I think is interesting, at the end of quarter 3, we sent out 819 student All A awards. And so at the end of each quarter this year, we've been sending out personalized letters to the parents of the students who earned All A's. And there were 819 students who had All A's. I'll get it right in a second. All A's in quarter 3. And that number has steadily increased over quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. And so I think that is, not causal, but it is certainly aligned with the mission that when you celebrate, you get what you celebrate. And so us celebrating and calling attention to our students who are making All A's is a good thing. Similarly, we saw that 1,206 students in quarter 3 had perfect attendance, and that was a pretty significant increase again in the number of students who had perfect attendance in quarter 2. But it's also caused us to wonder, and I don't have answers for it, but to start wondering about quarter 2 seems to be a trouble spot for attendance both in teachers and in students. We know that is, the fall, winter, it's when people are sick, it's around the holidays, but it's caused us to start wondering what can we do differently about quarter 2 next year so that we can really put an intentional focus on maybe quarter 2. The incentives need to be more or better to get folks to show up in quarter 2 because we struggle with attendance more in quarter 2 and we saw a rebound in quarter 3. And then the What Works South Carolina Award, I can finally say, but I've teased it, the workforce initiative that we've been able to create in Darlington County with the Ascend Visit, the Career Time Tuesdays, and the Keys to Career. We submitted that this year to a Riley Institute What Works South Carolina Award. It's a statewide award that's been created by Governor Riley and instituted through Furman that shines a light on programs and districts that are having outsized impact. And so Darlington County is being recognized as a state finalist for that award at the end of April, being recognized by Furman for the work that we are doing in our alignment with workforce. And so I think that is a great testament to the district. I certainly did not start that program, and so it is not about me, but I think it is a testament to the hard work that's going on in Darlington County, and wanted to make sure everybody knew about that. And South Carolina ETV was on campus the week before spring break taking some videos, and we're going to be featured on a ETV segment, and there will be some promotional videos that come out of that showing to the whole state what our workforce program is and how it can be a model for other districts. So shout out to the folks working so hard on that. And then we've kind of said this a couple of times tonight, but we are closing with urgency, and we are being really intentional about saying, I've said to every principal I've seen today, I put it in an email to principals today, we have 15 days, 15 instructional days before we start testing in elementary and middle schools. We only have 32 days before we close out this school year. And so how can we maintain our momentum and finish strong? Because we need to be, as Dr. James says all the time, all gas and no brakes. And so as we finish out the year, we're going to be all gas and no brakes. So with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
All right, any questions for Dr. Ferguson?
You said quarter 2, the attendance was not as great. And you don't know what you contributed to. Is there any way you can look at a mechanism for seeing if there's a trend for reasons why there's absence, and look for particular themes or trends?
Yes, ma'am. I haven't gotten answers yet. I've started asking those questions. What I know on the student data is we had a lot more students with medical sick days coded in quarter 2. And so that seems to be where the additional days are for quarter 2, but I'm not yet confident in that answer. So I want to do some more research on that and what we can do next year to curb that behavior.
If there's no other questions, we'll go on to personnel actions. I'll take a motion to approve the personnel actions. Pardon? Oh, what did we skip? God, this thing, this new one. Ms. Thomas, since you were leading off the questions, I'm gonna let you go ahead and go to board member input.
The only thing I have to say is, even though the students are gone now, I would like to congratulate them for all of their contributions and their accomplishments and all of the hard work of the personnel at the different schools for the things they do to make those students productive citizens.
Ms. Thompson?
I'll keep it short tonight since we have a long meeting, but I just wanted to say that I don't know how to put this exactly, but you know, I came on this board with the frustration of like my kids are just tested all the time, and it was frustrating for me, and it stayed frustrating for me the whole time I've been on this board. But I think you guys are showing me something and helping me understand like a way to use that in a way to actually help students, right? Like to actually help them read and write and do arithmetic and be better citizens. And when we pair that with things like the workforce development and other types of programs that maybe that's the frustration, is when it feels like it's all they're doing, you know, but when you have it in a system that's balanced, it's not, you know, maybe it's, so I appreciate you guys. I'm learning a lot from you this year. I really appreciate that. It helps me look at things in a new perspective. I'm still always going to be a little skeptical because of my own experiences, and we're all only built from our, you know, from our own experiences, and we form our opinions from our own experiences. So, but I appreciate that so much, and I'm open to it, and I appreciate you guys showing me something different and a new perspective. So I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Jeffries.
Okay. Congratulations to all our award winners. Some of them had more this year than we had in the past, especially for scholars, I believe we did. And Dr. Nichols, thank you for your report. I like the way you do it. It's easy to understand, and we kind of know where we're headed. And I think we are headed in the right direction. I do appreciate it. Okay.
Ms. Kelly?
I mean, I'd say it's magic. I'll continue to say that because I've been told for years that we couldn't increase students more than maybe at best a 1 year or one grade level a year. It's magic what y'all are doing. So, and it is nice to see all the kids here. What's even better is to see their families here supporting them. So this was a good night. It's probably the biggest meeting we've had for positive issues, right? So.
I'm going to say this was a good night, a good meeting, and I'm finished.
Ms. Carreri.
I want to recognize our Gifted and Talented program, commonly referred to as GT, and years ago it was the ALERT program, and it got reintroduced 2 years ago. This year, in collaboration with Darlington County Institute of Technology, the 5th grade students went once a month to DCIT, and they all built a race car. And I went to their last meeting where they did all their touch-ups and made sure all the race cars were running. They had a competition. They were divided into 5 groups, and they had a competition, and they were timed on speed, and one student from each group won. And on the 21st, they are going to go to the Darlington racetrack and race their race cars. It's a fantastic program, and I witnessed firsthand what the teachers had to do to move that program ahead. I mean, at one point I saw a teacher look at her watch and say, I got to take the diabetic trial to get, you know, her insulin shot. There were snacks provided. They were watching the time when the kids had to go all go back to their schools. There's 4 gifted and talented teachers, and they each go to 2 schools and have a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade responsibility at those schools. It's phenomenal, and if you can make it on the 21st, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was looking at my niece's Facebook. There's a program, I forgot the name of it. There was a young man who was mentoring a group of students, male students, sort of a role model. He was teaching them how to dress for success.
Distinguished young gentleman, yeah.
Yes, what school is that?
I think it's at
I think it's at Darlington Middle.
Darlington Middle, I know.
I think there's a couple
I think many of those schools have some version of that.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Is that something that could be used as a model at different schools? Because I thought it was really good.
I can look into that. I know many of our schools do have, there are variations on what it is called, but many schools have that. But I can try to get you a better answer on how many and how we can scale that.
Thank you.
One last thing I forgot to mention about the Gifted and Talented program. When you're mentioning the young adults mentoring, they actually had students in the school who, are attending classes there at DCIT. The, juniors and seniors come in and help those kids finish out their race cars. There were many struggles in that area, so you need a lot of hands-on to get all those race cars moving. It was really amazing.
Well, I just want to say, once again, I agree with Ms. Gore and everyone else that tonight is always a really shining night. When we see student achievement like that, I just think even, the good news, bad news sometimes that we get with that is also, from Dr. Nichols, I think it's just an exciting time. I feel a lot of energy in Darlington County School District right now, and I think we are, have this momentum moving forward, and I don't want to see that dampened at all. So thank you all for all your hard work. I know the board appreciates it, and I know it is a lot of hard work, and it's recognized for that. I also want to bring up the 3 listening sessions that we held, and Dr. Ferguson covered some of them. I just want to thank all the people who did attend, because we don't know what you were thinking unless we hear from you. And that's what the goal of those meetings was to hear from you, and I think I appreciate everyone who did come, who did speak, who did express their concerns or things they liked. But that's information that we can use, and we're going to take that and move that forward as we move through this process of the referendum. And so I greatly, again, appreciate everybody who attended and took their time out to give us the feedback that they did. So, and with that, we will now vote on our personnel. So I will take a motion to approve personnel actions. And the 2026-2027 administrative certified and retired staff recommendation. So there's 2 parts on that.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And with that, I'll take a motion to move into executive session.
I move that we move into executive session to discuss personnel matters and contractual matters.
I get a second? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We'll move into executive. session.
I move we come out of executive session.
Second. I'll take a second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? We're out of executive session. I'll take any motions from the floor.
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we approve the administration's recommendation for the administrator position at Darlington High School.
Can I get a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. No other actions were taken, no other votes were taken. I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. We are adjourned.